Welcome to East Alabama Today, featuring topics, events, and interesting people from all over East Alabama. Hosted by Carl Brady. Now, let's get right to the show. Here's Carl Brady.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into East Alabama Today. I'm Carl Brady, and once again, we'll start things off with a little contact information so you know how to get in touch with us here at East Alabama Today. And the best way to do that is just to send me an email, cbrady@tv24.tv. We want to know about the things that are going on in your community, fairs, festivals, special events, things that are happening in your neck of the woods. We would love to hear from you. Things that are going on with your church, your community organization, your school, those kind of things are exactly what we're looking for and looking to help you promote in the community. So send me an email about those events, cbrady@tv24.tv. We also want to know about the interesting people who live in your community. Maybe you know someone that's a writer, an artist, or a musician. Maybe they have an odd or an interesting hobby and you think they'd be a great guest on the show. Well, we're looking for those kind of folks as well. So shoot me an email about them again. That email address is cbrady@tv24.tv. And remember, if you happen to miss an episode of the show, or you'd like to just go back and review some information, or you missed part of a show and you want to look at it at your convenience, you can do so online at tv24.tv. Go to the on-demand section of our website, click on East Alabama Today, and there you'll find a whole series of East Alabama Today shows that you can go back and watch at your convenience on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, your desktop, however you would like to watch those programs. You can do it at your convenience. Again, the website, tv24.tv. Got a very interesting show for you today, so we want you to hang around with us. We'll get started in just a moment. Hello and welcome back into East Alabama Today. I'm Carl Brady, and as I mentioned, we've got a great show today that I think you want to really stick around and keep an eye on. My guest is Kelly Garner. Kelly, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Carl, for having me.
Great to have you here. You have an amazing story, and I can't wait to just dive right into it. You may remember just recently we recognized the second anniversary of the snow and ice event that we all called Snowpocalypse here in January of 2014. You may recall seeing news stories during that event of a man who was reported missing in the Birmingham area and who spent 10 hours?
12 hours.
About 12 hours lost, and then was found the next morning. And this is him. This is Kelly Garner, and an amazing story, as we said. So let's just dive right into it with that day, the day of Snowpocalypse. It caught us all off guard. I remember myself being caught off guard and having to turn around and get back home from where I was, because we didn't think it was going to snow more than just a few flurries. When it became obvious that it was going to get bad, everybody began to try to get home. Even here in the East Alabama area, we had cars and traffic just all over the roads, people stranded, and that's what initially happened to you, right?
It was just really amazing to look around and see the things we were seeing that day. I mean, all over central Alabama. It's just amazing. It was Armageddon-like. It was Walking Dead, zombie-like.
Yeah.
There was a lot of we can throw a lot of names out to describe that day, but it was just a really eerie feeling too at some point for a lot of people.
I think so, and especially for people who couldn't get home. I think that concerned a lot of people was, what do I do? The road is covered in snow and ice. There are wrecks in front of me. There are wrecks behind me. There are people who are not comfortable driving in this, so they've pulled off of the road or just abandoned their cars in the middle of the road. And now I'm stuck here as well. You recognized that situation and became a good Samaritan. You went out and started assisting people. What were your thoughts of providing assistance to people? Talk about what you were doing there in those initial phases.
Well, all that really could be done was simply bunches of us were just grabbing one bumper and the other would get the other side of the bumper. And all of a sudden, two of us, and then here comes two or three more. We were all just pushing cars. So it was one car, 1 mile, 1 hour after the other. It was just simply push, push, push. And the funny thing was we were pushed off and handed off to another group. You know, it's like there's nowhere else we could get them to. We couldn't push them all the way up to Highway 31, which is a straight incline. And it was not an easy task, but it was just bunches of us out doing these things, and tires spinning and throwing rock salt down, helping people get another 5 more feet.
Right. And
then the next person hopefully got some more, throw some sand down maybe. But a lot of that was going on.
Mm-hmm. Now you had, were you stranded yourself, or you were able to get home and then you went back out to the highway to help? Is that right?
That's right. I'd been fasting the night before because I was supposed to have hand surgery that morning. The snow apocalypse came, and my wife and I got back home, left the car abandoned like everyone else, and we got to the house and got the kids home from school. And I ventured back out to Highway 31 to check and see what was going on, because I knew it was that's the major thoroughfare through the city, and I knew it was going to be a disaster, and just decided to go give it a try. And I went out, and next thing you know, it just piled on. Everything came down, and just all chaos, I guess.
Yeah, literally. And I think a key thing that you said there just very quickly, that's a key part of the story, is the fact that you had been fasting in preparation for the surgery that you were going to have. You are a diabetic and have been a diabetic for many, many years. You've struggled with that for many years. So that fasting is a factor in this story. Is that correct?
That's right, and it was just a bad combination. I'm just a bullheaded person in the first place. I've grown up with diabetes for 41 years, and I've been babied and pampered and cuddled for so long. I just got a little sick and tired of hearing people, are you okay? Can I help you? And I just kind of brushed it off. Now I always have done that, and just brush it off and just move on with my business and doing what I like to do, and that would be either my regular everyday work or my job or helping the folks I was helping that day.
Mm-hmm. And that turned into a problem for you that day. At some point in time, I guess it got dark. You got ready to venture back home. But you don't know what happened after that, other than 12 hours later, you were found at the bottom of a 40-foot ravine.
I was, as the day progressed, obviously I had not eaten, and by the time all this started, by the time they felt I went missing, it had been 22 hours since I've actually eaten anything or even drunk anything.
Wow.
And my son gave me a call at 7 and said, "Dad, where are you?" I told him I was out on Highway 31 near the Walmart, neighborhood mart. And he said, "Don't move, I'm on my way." Well, here I go. My bullheadedness and obviously my severe hypoglycemic state was coming on.
Right.
And it's sure, whatever. Well, it's pretty much a drunken stupor. I had no idea what was about to happen. Mm-hmm. And I don't recall anything from the median on Highway 31 until the point where they speculated that I went off. Now, there was no evidence, no sign of anything. There was no car driven off, no tire tracks. Right. I was on foot. There was no foot marks, anything that showed anything had gone wrong. And before all that happened, I looked around and there was nobody around. Mm-hmm. I was kind of like, where did everybody go? And so here I am thinking I can go left or right to get back to my neighborhood on the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. And it was a mile this way, a mile that way, whatever. I'll go that way, this way. Well, who knows which way I went? I just know I went that way, off the ravine, off the cliff.
Mm-hmm. So somehow you ended up falling into that ravine of 40 foot, obviously bouncing down into that. Now, give us an idea of the location there. I think it's near a library. It's for people who are familiar with that area. Tell us where you're talking about.
It's if you're going northbound on Highway 31, it's at the Vestavia Hills Library in the forest. In the forest, behind the Vestavia Library in the forest, is what's called Boulder Canyon. Mm-hmm. And it is basically a cereal bowl. And it's carved out. I mean, there's walking trails, all kinds of things through there. And then there's this huge runoff of creek bed that runs through that takes you down into Shades Creek. And so here I am at the bottom of this ravine on the biggest boulder you can ever want to find.
Wow.
And if it had been anything jagged, anything less flat than what it was, I can say that I'm at peace with the rock that I went on because it was the flattest rock I can get on. If it had been jagged, it would just simply cut me in two.
It would have really hurt you even worse. Now, there's so much to this story, and trying to get the timeline correct. You were reported missing. Your family realized they couldn't find you. You didn't make it back home. Friends and family, police, fire, everybody who could get out, got out into the neighborhood and started searching for you. They looked for you all night long. 12 hours later, daylight, the next morning, someone just happened to look over the side down into that ravine and saw what they thought might be a person laying at the bottom of it.
Yeah, it was, my family started what they could to locate me, and they just could not. And that's when my sisters got on social media. Mm-hmm. They threw a picture on there. That picture was termed to be the picture seen around the world. Hit all over, and a lot of messages from a lot of people. And then my neighbors the next morning, they were not the ones that were out looking, but everyone else who were up running around in the middle of the night were, keeping an eye open for this guy named Kelly Garner. Who is this guy? So that's when my neighbors saw it on TV the next morning on one of the local Fox channels, and there I was. And my neighbor who found me happened to be a hunter, and if it had been anyone else, I think God sent this man for a purpose. And he was on a mission, and he looked down off the side of the Highway 31 down into the ravine, and there I was. Yeah. Anyone else probably would not have been able to find me because he had those eyes as a hunter would have. And he spotted something that looked kind of funky to him, and a pair of blue jeans, and there I was at the bottom of the pit.
And that's where you were found after spending 12 hours in the snow, freezing cold.
8-degree weather.
And severely injured, by the way. 8 degrees, it got down to 8 degrees that night, and you were severely injured from the fall. Really just amazes me is and you hear these kind of stories all the time, you have no memory of that at all. Until the moment you were found or were being brought out of the ravine, you don't have any memory of that night, of spending that night, and that's probably a good thing because it was probably a horrible night.
I don't recall 10 seconds of anything. Wow. I don't know what, if I did, my trauma team tells me it's best that I don't remember. Yeah. And I'm to the point now where I'm cleared up enough where I should not have any nightmares of any kind.
Right.
But I don't recall anything. Waking up in the middle of the night, it was just me and God and angels sitting right at the bottom of that pit together. Wow. There was no sensational stories of any kind taking place. I didn't have to cut my leg off because I was stuck between two rocks.
Right.
Didn't have to fight off polar bears or anything like that. It was just me at the bottom of that pit with the angels.
Wow. We need to take a commercial break, and go ahead and let you know this too is Kelly has written a book about his experience called The Night That Changed Our Lives. We're going to talk more about the book coming up, about how you can get a copy of the book and things like that as well. So we'll take a quick break right now and be back in just a moment to continue with more of East Alabama Today. Welcome back into East Alabama Today. Our guest is Kelly Garner, and we're talking about his experience in 2014 when Snowmageddon came through, and the book he has written about that experience called The Night That Changed Our Lives. We'll tell you how you can get a copy of this book. And Kelly, when we left your story, you had the neighbor had just finally found you and realized that you were lying at the bottom of this ravine. At what point do you remember? He said he called your name and you answered. Do you remember that part? Where do you start remembering what was happening to you?
Nothing. I've heard that about that they had asked, "Is that you?" and all those things. Mm-hmm. I don't recall any of that. The only thing I do recall was about roughly 4 days after being in the hospital, and realizing I got a lot of tubes running in and out of me. Mm-hmm. And that's when I found out that I'd had a major back issue going on, and that's pretty much my first recollection. Was probably about, this was on Tuesday. I was found Wednesday. It was probably about Saturday night that I recall, because that was when I came out of the surgery, and I guess I was in recovery. I guess the happy juice was running off, and I finally got some sense about what was going on.
Talk about your injuries. What kind of injuries did you have?
Well, I shattered my vertebrae. The surgical team called it a chromodope crackers. They had to piece me back together. I laughed with them. I said, "You all super glued me back together." That's pretty much what they did.
Right.
So they used 2 titanium rods and screws to put my vertebrae back together. It was pretty close to getting my spinal cord. I mean, they were talking about just a smidgen.
Yeah.
And they were concerned. Were afraid they're going to tell my family that I would not be walking. And I busted up a bunch of ribs and head and shoulder and toes, and I lost some hearing in one ear, and so it was broken up a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Talk about your recovery process. That took a while. Lots of rehab, just a lot of work to get you back to doing things like you're doing now, like running in half marathons and 5Ks and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I found out what the back really is. I had no idea that had that kind of control over your body, and I still recall fairly vividly putting my feet on the floor for the first time when they said, "You need to get up and start walking." And I thought, what does that mean? I mean, why? Why you have to tell me I got to get up walking? I not just throw myself out of this hospital bed and start walking.
Right.
And that's when I found out how severe it really was and how much pain I had was running through my body. Now I don't have any lingering effects. I mean, obviously at the end of the day, after all the bending over and tying shoes and picking up things, my back is pretty flat worn out by the end of the day. But other than that, no true signs of anything that's gone wrong with my life, my body.
Right. So, and that's a testament to great doctors, great medical care, and the great follow-up care that you had. You had some really good people working with you.
I did, and I contribute a lot of my care in the book with all the wonderful facilities that we sometimes take for granted that we do have within our doorstep.
Right.
And I participated in a lot of those things over my life, and I found out firsthand what the Trauma One Level Center really is, not knowing what it ever was. And here I was involved in that and getting to see firsthand UAB, Spain Rehab, Lakeshore, all those wonderful facilities that we have to offer. And it's really was amazing the work and effort they all put in to put me back together again.
One of your goals, you say the book became to run was it a marathon or a half marathon or something like that? Talk about working up to that goal and how long it took you to be able to get to that.
I still remember watching a live shot of Fox 6 and their coverage of the Mercedes Marathon on TV, and I looked around. I told some of the nurses, I said, I'm going to run that one of these days. And they said, "Wait, talking about the marathon?" I said, "Yeah." And they thought, well, and I decided I was going to get myself up out of that bed and I was going to get myself better. And as soon as I got out and got recovered well enough, I started taking one step after the other and just walking and building up to that. And Danny Harrelson, my running coach, got me to a point where basically was one breath, one step, 1 mile, and then the finish line. That's where we finished at, was based on that premise. You take your first steps and work your way into that. And I didn't get to finish the full though. I had to go a little step back a little bit and do the half. I wasn't fully recovered enough to do the full, and hopefully one day I'll get to run a half. I've run several half marathons already. Wow.
Do you run on a regular basis now?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much weekly, and whenever there's a long event, got the Tuscaloosa Half Marathon coming up here pretty soon, and I'll be running in that one.
Is that something that you did prior to this accident? Were you into physical fitness and running or anything like that?
Not really. I never really got into. I wanted to be a runner at one time, and having had diabetes all my life, I felt like I could never do things. I wasn't really a good team player because the team was depending on me, and for running for me made me think that I could take it for myself, and if I want to run slow, great. Nobody has to count on me running across that finish line in a certain amount of time.
Right.
It's all what I can do, and I finish it on my time. And people always ask about, what was your time? I go, I don't know. I don't want to know. I just want to know I finished that finish line, crossed that finish line.
That's the important part.
But I did want to run it full at one time, but one of these days I might get there. It may take me more time to get there.
You named the book The Night That Changed Our Lives, other than running in the half marathons. Talk about the changes. What changes, important changes, have come about in your life because of this?
It made me stop and realize that there's a whole lot more in life than all the screaming, yelling, and hating people. And I found myself to have more love and more patience. People cutting me off at stop signs and red lights and cutting in front of me, whatever. It never really. I just took a little back seat and go, I'm not in a hurry no more. I don't need to rush to get places anymore, and it just drove me insane. And at the same time, I had to realize that I gave the title "The Devil Pushed Me in the Pit, but God Pulled Me Out," and that was my wake-up call that God had for me. And yet, it was not my time yet. He had His master plan says that. I'm not going yet. And He said, I got more things for you to do. And He needed me to be that disciple that He always asked of us to be. And this, for me, by writing the book and giving it the title and putting the words I put into the book, meant more based on my faith and the faith that I needed to have. And I wanted to go a step above that.
When did the idea of the book come around, and how did the book come together for you?
Well, I had a lot of people that followed my recovery and all from the beginning to the end, and they wanted to hear about it. And people said, well, you can be writing a book one day, and you can be running a marathon one day. And I actually heard from people who said that. And then I just, that summer after the accident, I was at the beach for a couple of weeks. I sat down with just a simple notebook and a pen and paper and just started writing. And then when I get back home, I get on the computer and started punching it up. I go, hey, wait, this looks pretty good. I think I like this, and I can run with it a little bit more and share how wonderful things were in our lives, even in a bad time that we were going through.
Right. Talk about your family a little bit. You have a wife and 2 sons, and they worried to death about you for that 12 hours that you were missing, and organizing searches, getting people out, getting out and looking, trying to figure out what was going on. And I'm sure they had to be a huge support for you too during your recovery time. I
put them through so many things, and obviously by reading the book, you can see some of the moments that pretty much scared them to death. Not knowing where I was, what was going on with me, and here was that moment where there was no information from me at all of anything.
Your cell phone had died. The battery had died, like most people's had that day, because they were out longer than normal. So it was just a terrifying time.
It was, and it's a little different from my talking to someone on the phone like my son that day, or my wife going, and they go, hey, voice sounds a little funny. They know something's wrong, and they know pretty much where I am, or where I want to be, can be, and where I might be going. Well, this moment there was nothing, no communication hardly of any kind. So that was the toughest part, and I put them through a lot of anguish, a lot of heartache, and a lot of unknown through this whole process. And they were there for me, and took great care of me in the hospital, and the community just pitched in. I've got a whole new fondness of mankind. We found how wonderful mankind can be, and this was one of those moments where I got to see neighbors coming together and just helping me out.
And the whole world, you because of social media and in regular media, your story got all over the place, and you heard from people all over the world, and there were donations made in your name to a medical fund to help with medical bills and things like that. And you said in the book that complete strangers that you'll never meet were donating money to help you out.
Yeah, I got well wishes from all 50 states and 5 countries, and a lot of it is because of social media. And then the medical fund set up in my name, and here again it was anonymous, and there's no way to me to thank those people. That's part of the book, was I wanted to say thanks. If that person got to read the book and never no one came up and said, I'll give you money for your medical fund. Well, thank you. But no one, wanted to do that. And I'm obviously that's an anonymous side of giving. But I wanted to share that with these people and tell them thanks. That I truly am grateful for for reaching out to us the way they did.
We need to take another commercial break. The book again is The Night That Changed Our Lives by Kelly Garner, and we'll come back and tell you how you can get your own copy in just a moment. Stay with us. Well, folks, we've got to do a quick wrap up here. If you'd like your very own copy of Kelly's book, again, The Night That Changed Our Lives, you can do so at Amazon.com or at BarnesandNoble.com. It's published by Westbow Press. You can get it on their website, westbowpress.com, and then the book website, TheNightThatChangedOurLives.com. You can go there and you can learn more about Kelly, learn more about the book, and even sign up for a newsletter there and get in touch with Kelly if you'd like to have him come and speak to your group, your club, your organization, your school, your church, or anything like that. It's a fascinating story, and I'm sure you would love to have him come out and do that, so you can get in touch with him through the website. And again, that is TheNightThatChangedOurLives.com. And Kelly, we've got a special offer as well. You've got these little cards that the publisher gave you to get free digital downloads of the book. And so we're going to give away some of these, but what you have to do is you go to Kelly's website, TheNightThatChangedOurLives.com, sign up for the newsletter, and mention East Alabama Today. Mention that you saw the show East Alabama Today, and the first 10 people who mention East Alabama Today when they sign up for the newsletter will get one of these cards to get a free digital download of the book, and that way you can read it on your Kindle, your e-reader, or whatever you happen to have. Right. I love those that card. That's a great idea right there.
It's a good idea
to be able to do that. Well, all right, folks. Kelly, thank you so much for being with us on the program.
Thank you.
And folks, thank you as well for hanging out with us today. We'll see you next time.